we never want to eliminate stress from someone's life because the stress can help them.
Yes.
But if we can eliminate.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jodi Richardson, and this is, well, hello, anxiety. In a world that often moves too fast, we're here to pause, breathe, and understand anxiety together. Each episode will explore practical strategies, share honest conversations, and uncover the science behind anxiety and well-being, all while creating a space where it's okay to not be okay. Let's continue this journey together. Welcome to part 2 of my conversation with Dr. Ashleigh Moreland. If you have not listened to part 1, that's okay. Stick around, listen through. You can go back when you're finished, or if you're like me and you kind of like to do things in order, feel free to go back to last week's episode. But Ash, thank you for sticking around and recording a second part of this conversation with me.
It's a pleasure. Let's deep dive.
Go. So the question that was top of mind for me, just with thinking about what the body is remembering and the response in the moment. And I'm thinking of a scenario. A person is working at their desk. They are feeling like they've got a to-do list that's kind of pretty long. They're feeling fairly overwhelmed with what kind of they've got to accomplish in the day. And then someone walks into the office and says, I've got a problem. I need you to come and help me solve it straight away. So all of a sudden this person's been moved out of a state where they were kind of starting to kind of make progress and feel like they had a bit of control into, gosh, now I'm doing something that I didn't plan on doing. I'm just feeling extremely stressed right now. So in that moment, you're feeling stress. I've got 2 questions. I want to pose them now just so you can maybe shape your answer. Number 1 is, in that moment, the stress response that is being experienced by the person is going to be felt in the body.
Mm-hmm.
My 2-part question is, how is that physiological response? Is that physiological response in that moment necessarily related to something in the past that the body is remembering or not? And the second part of my question is, could you, for our listeners, describe the difference between stress and anxiety?
Yes, 100%. So the thing is, it doesn't necessarily have to be in the past as such, but it is relating to a file in our filing cabinet. And so I look at that, and as you give me scenarios, and I do this with clients all the time, I kind of use my body as the proxy. So in my mind, when someone's telling me a story or describing something, I'm imagining it in my mind and allowing my body to experience it.
Yes.
And then I use my body as the proxy because I can feel very strongly. And I was imagining in my mind what that person sitting at the desk might have been thinking or feeling. Now, they were starting to feel overwhelmed, but because of the never-ending to-do list. But I imagined that when that person came in and said, hey, I need you to do this, the things that came up for me were maybe lacking a sense of self, in that I don't have a say. I'm not the to-do list, things like I'm not good enough. I can't say no, or it's my responsibility, or I have to do everything around here, or that if I don't do it, no one else will do it, or like, what are the stories that are coming up? And the thing is, remembering that the body is nothing more than a diagnostic tool that is responding to the files in the filing cabinet. And so if I have a file in my filing cabinet that says, it's on me, everything is my responsibility, I'm the fixer, if I don't do it, everything's going to fall apart. If I have files like that now, this is why I call myself an identity coach, because if it's my identity that I'm the fixer, I fix people's problems, I solve things, I people please, I don't say no, then in that moment, I'm living in that identity, which is flawed. And so it's actually the flawed, distorted identity that I developed in the past. It might not be taking me to a past moment where someone else walked in and asked me to do something. It doesn't have to be like that. It might just be that I grew up believing that it was my responsibility to fix things. And it's that belief, that identity, that is essentially hijacking my body, and my nervous system is trying to give me feedback in that moment that is dysfunction. And so the anxiety that's coming up in my body is actually the mismatch. So this is going to be a bit weird, but I had a bit of a maybe download one day. It was a vision, and it was like, we talk about mind, body, and spirit. And when we have regulation in our nervous system is the only thing that sits between the physical and the metaphysical, or the physical and the spiritual.
Mm.
And so whenever there's alignment or misalignment, our nervous system is just giving us feedback. So if I look at spirit as truth, uppercase T truth, mind and body can be out of alignment. So if I look at my spirit is, let's say, this isn't how it works, but let's pretend my spirit is here. And then the next thing is the body. If there's anything out of alignment in my body, like my mineral balance is wrong, or my neurotransmitters are out of whack, or I have a vitamin deficiency, my nervous system is going to give me feedback through dysregulation. And I'm going to interpret that feedback and explore. Same with the mind. My body could be physically perfect. And we spoke about that in the last episode. So go and check that out. But I might have zero issues in my actual physical body. But if I'm getting feedback from my nervous system of dysregulation, it means there's something out of alignment with truth in the mind. And so the anxiety that I'm experiencing in my body, the symptoms that I'm experiencing in my body in that moment is just a pointer. It's like a dash light that's coming on saying there's lack of alignment here somewhere.
Yep.
You're out of alignment with truth. And so I wasn't called to be the fixer or the helper or the people pleaser. And so that is an invitation for me to come back in and explore, well, if I knew that other people were competent and capable, if I had the resources to be able to acknowledge that what I'm working on is important and be able to express with language that, like, essentially set a boundary or say, hey, I'm in the middle of something. I'm going to be free at 1:00. Can I come back to you? And just feel totally at peace saying that. The person doesn't have to like it. They might reject us. They might be unhappy. But we know that we have acted within alignment of our truth, of that uppercase T truth. That is where we can actually start to overcome those lived day-to-day life experiences of anxiety, because the fear of letting people down, the fear of judgment, the fear of abandonment, the fear of not being good enough, the fear of insert all those fears there, they're actually identity level things that we grew up believing was our responsibility, but they're not. And so when it comes to emotional intelligence, I mentioned last episode that self-awareness is the first pillar. The second pillar is self-regulation, and we touched on some of those tools and stuff. The third pillar is social awareness. It's looking at being able to read others and interpret others' states and needs. And then the fourth is relationship management. The fourth is, do I know what to say? Do I know how to say it? Do I have the actual skills to be able to lead this situation into a desirable outcome that honors them and me? And I never had that modeled to me in my early life. I had never seen a healthy boundary set. I'd never seen it. And so when you were giving that example, I was like, oh, that was me. That was my life. I was an academic for 12 years and never said no. I was constantly drowning and constantly doing about 3 people's work because I couldn't say no. I had no boundaries. I thought that my worth was dependent on it. That was how I was seen. That was what I was praised for. That was what I was valued for. And so I believed that that was my identity. And so I think that it's probably more that.
And one of the things that I'm thinking about is that idea of rejection, like deep within us. Like we are social beings. We need to feel like we're included. We belong. We are part of, not, outsiders. And so if operating in that way maintains that sense of belonging and acceptance in a social setting, whatever that might be, whether it's a workplace or a family or a friendship group, then it makes sense that we operate in this way, because we have that reaction in our body where we feel like rejection is a real threat and it's a risk. And it is a risk, because if we are rejected deep in our bones, It's so painful.
Yeah, it's so interesting though, because in my experience, when we are feeling so fixated on acceptance of others, it's actually trying to fill a hole of acceptance of self. And
Mm,
this is something that I say all the time is we want our kids to be able to feel strong in their sense of self and think about all the words that come after self. We want them to have self-love, self-esteem, self-respect, all these positive things, right? Even self-care. But if we grew up watching our parent abandon themselves through people pleasing, rejecting themselves through criticism and harshness and judgment of themselves, the rejection that we are fearing is not from another, it's from ourselves.
mm,
And so, in my experience, when our relationship with self improves, when our relationship with that inner self improves to the point where we can love, honor, and accept ourself, we no longer outsource that to others.
mm.
And so, if I can love, honor, and accept myself, I don't need you to do it for me. I
Yes.
don't need my husband to do it for me. I don't need my kids to do it for me. And it's okay if they're having a hard day and come home and they're in a bad mood. They're not rejecting me. They just had a hard day.
Yes.
And I
Mm,
could not do that. I always wanted to, and this is the thing with anxiety. So, the second question you asked was, what's the difference between stress and anxiety? Well, stress is a very natural physiological response, and it's actually a necessary response. We need a healthy level of stress. This is another gripe I have with the TikTok nervous system regulation pop culture. Is all the time we're talking about down regulating the nervous system. We're talking about, relaxing and activating the vagus nerve and activating the rest and digest and almost like weaponized against the sympathetic nervous system, like the fight
yes.
and flight response is bad, but it's
Yes.
not. If I have a goal I want to achieve, I need sympathetic activation to activate me and energize me to move towards that goal. And so that's actually very healthy. Sometimes the right approach is using tools to be able to energize and upregulate my nervous system.
Yeah.
And so stress is actually very, very helpful to an extent. But to me, anxiety is the name that we give stress that is irrational or irrelevant to the demands of the moment. And that's not a textbook definition. It's just my working definition of how I see anxiety, how I interact with anxiety, because we never want to eliminate stress from someone's life because the stress can help them.
Yes.
But if we can eliminate unnecessary anxiety from someone's life, then that will help them.
Yes.
And so
Uh,
I look at it and go, if it's not relevant to right now, then we don't need to be in this state, but we do need to resolve whatever our body is showing us right now.
yes. And the word adaptive is a word you used earlier, and it's a word that I use when I'm presenting, is that the the sympathetic response, it is adaptive. It's actually also protective. And I'll say
Yes.
to, if I'm speaking to a group of parents, I'll say, if your child is walking home from school and they feel like they might be being followed, or they're out with their friends and they're 18 and they're, heading out to go and, go to the pub or whatever it is that they're doing, and then they're making their way back to their car and they've got a choice of going the well lit way or cut through a few dark alleys, and their sympathetic response in terms of decision making tells them that going through the dark alley could be dangerous and they take a different route. That's adaptive, that's protective. And
Yes.
so I hear a lot of talk about, we've got to get rid of anxiety, we've got to, just shut anxiety down and eliminate anxiety. And in the same way that you see a lot of armchair experts kind of trying to share ideas, and a lot of it's very well intentioned, but anxiety isn't something we can eliminate. Like you say, it's something that we can absolutely reduce, but there are times we definitely need it. I mean, it's protective for us, but so often people like me who have an anxiety disorder, I know Ash, you said you've got a drawer full of diagnoses, and anxiety being one of them, is that, there's so much we can do to lead a rich life, to have more confidence, to do the things that are really important to us, and dial it down. And if we can pay attention, like being able to pay attention to what we're experiencing in our body, and the work that you do to help people sort of understand what the responses are, build the connections between the brain and the body through the vagus nerve so that they have that sense, and then they can actually feel what's happening, like you so rightly said in the first episode, that for some people that connection between kind of what the experience of the body is and being able to sort of recognize and have that awareness of those feelings, there's a disconnect there, and that can be retaught.
Yeah.
It's so much deeper. It's so much deeper, and it gets me to this question about the difference between sort of coping and healing. That there is very much a difference. Can you talk more to that?
Yeah. And just as you were speaking then, saying, we don't want to get rid of anxiety. I mean, 20-year-old me is going to argue pretty hard with you on that.
Yes.
20-year-old me sitting here going, yes, I want to get rid of anxiety. And
exactly.
to be honest, I couldn't be a passenger in a car. I couldn't allow someone to cook for me. I remember getting 98 on a uni assignment once, and the only comment I got was, well done, mate. And I took that assignment to my lecturer's office, suffocated by anxiety, and said, you either tell me where those 2 marks went or you give them back. Like, just this anxiety around performance and achievement and perfectionism and all this kind of stuff, right? Yeah. My life was very, very challenging. And the thing that I want to differentiate is I spent 20 years in therapy, as I mentioned last episode, trying to cope with what I called my anxiety. It was something that I had taken on as part of my identity. And where I'm at now when it comes to healing is anxiety is nothing more than a dashlight. It's a diagnostic tool. It's revealing to me the work that I have to do, that inner work that I have to do. And so the questions that I will ask myself is, do I still experience anxiety today? Sometimes I feel the sensations of anxiety in my body, but it's not my identity or my anxiety. It's simply the car that is my body, the vehicle that is my body, is putting a dash light on saying, hey, we need some attention here. We need to look at this. And then I'll ask myself, I'll close my eyes and I'll place my hand over my heart and I'll say, what's coming up for me right now? What is this? And I'll ask the vehicle that is my body, I'll ask, what is it that you need to feel safe right now? And sometimes it's an action, because like you said, sometimes that anxiety is actually adaptive. It's trying to direct us towards something that is safe. And this is something that I see with clients all the time, is anxiety does one of 2 things. Either you take the path and experience anxiety, or the anxiety causes you to avoid the path. Either way, they're terrible options. I don't want to just do the thing and then be suffocated by anxiety. And I don't want to not do the thing to avoid anxiety. I need to look at, what is this anxiety communicating to me? What does it want me to heal and resolve? And then I actually get to do the thing with peace. I actually get to do the thing. I know that not all listeners will be Christian and this may not resonate with people, but I look at it and go, what is this trying to steal, kill, and destroy? Because if it's a door that's opening for me and I can't step through it because of anxiety, then I know that it's bringing something up for me. That anxiety is going to steal that opportunity. It's going to steal the impact that would have on others if I don't deal with it. And it's purely just revealing to me the work that needs to be done in me to be able to step forward through that door, feeling courageous, feeling excited, feeling empowered, feeling ready, feeling all those things. And that's how I want to do life. Like, I want to take opportunities. I want to walk into rooms. I go to events alone. I went to the Daughters of the King Global Conference recently with Simone Leslie, and I went alone. I bought the ticket. I was like, oh, that event sounds fun. I never thought anything of it. I didn't feel anxious, nothing. And when I went there, I was so blown away by how many people said to me, "You came alone? Like, who are you here with?" And when I would say, "No, no one, just me," totally okay with it, they were like, "What? I could never do that. Oh my gosh, that's so courageous." And it's moments like that that I realize like how far I've come and
Yes.
that I have these, like my world has gotten bigger. The opportunities that I can say yes to have gotten me further because
Mm,
I now have safety in my body, knowing nothing bad can happen just because I go somewhere alone. I don't
yes.
need the approval or the validation or the security, I guess, of others because I have that in here. Like I have that security and validation and approval here that I don't need that from others. And it always amazes me when people say things like that because that is revealing theirs, that is revealing their inner work. And what opportunities would they have said no to because someone wasn't available to go with them? Or
Yeah.
what rooms were they ordained and destined to be in that they never walked into because
Mm,
their own identity level fears or anxieties stopped them from doing it? And that's what I
yeah.
just feel so, so passionate about is like we all have a purpose and a calling upon our life. We cannot live in the fullness of that. We cannot have the ripple effect impact that we're here to have while ever anxiety is stealing that. And so
Mm.
when we can, coming back to that reference of be transformed by the renewing of your mind, I literally see it as cleaning out the filing cabinet and going, what is the stuff that got put in here by society, that got put in here because my parents believed this or it was in their filing cabinet, so they put it in mine to try and protect me. I just need to clean it out and go,
Mm.
what's the truth? What's the correct files?
Yeah, I think it's a brilliant metaphor. And even just for as a listener, this podcast has listeners all around the world, Ash, and different experiences of anxiety personally, or somebody they love, or just really like learning about well-being and mental health and feeling more understood and better equipped. And also I only have trusted guests. I'm really careful about who I invite onto the podcast and say yes to, because I really want to make sure I'm connecting listeners with people that they can trust
Yeah.
and whose work is, is something that I would recommend. I hope that as a listener you're feeling hopeful and optimistic after listening to these episodes with Dr. Ashleigh Moreland, because there is so much. Life can be so much bigger. That anxiety is a thief. It
Yeah.
can make the world small. We know that when anxiety shows up, the brain often will say, don't like this feeling. You don't like it. You step back. You say no, and the world becomes smaller because of it, and the anxiety grows bigger as a
Yeah.
result of it. And so, I I'm so grateful for what you've shared and the journey that you're on as well, sharing your journey, and also sharing how you support other people on their journey. It gives everyone sort of another avenue maybe to explore that they may not have explored when it comes to supporting themselves to clean out that filing cabinet. And also, I think even if you're not ready to step into work like the work that Ashleigh does with the Remind Institute, is to raise your awareness and just slow down a little bit and just
Yeah.
notice the responses in your body if you can connect with those. If you did the Dr. Ashleigh shared a practice with us in episode 1, if you haven't listened to that episode, where you can sort of be guided through a mindful practice. It's not a mindfulness practice, but it'll make sense when you go back and listen, which will be quite revealing to you. And so, Ashleigh, I just want to say a really huge and, warm and grateful thank you to you for sharing with us today so much about the work that you do, why you do it, and just the difference that it can make. How can people connect with you and your work, or work with you as well?
Thank you. I really appreciate having this conversation because as someone, like I said multiple times, I was part of the mental health system, a customer, call myself, I was a customer for 20 years. And I honestly reached a point where I went, if this is life, I don't want it. And that was a really scary place to get to.
Yeah,
And my little motto is that life is for thriving, not just surviving. And I really, really do believe that. My husband and I have these pinch me moments where I just go, I can't believe this gets to be our life. I can't believe that we get to experience this in a good way.
Yes.
It's such a blessing. And so you can find us at Remind Institute just on any, social platform. We have on our Remind Institute Instagram, there is a link tree there that will give you a whole heap of links to resources and programs. And anxiety is one of the pillars that we cover, but we've got parenting, relationships, mental health, and then even into leadership and entrepreneurship as well. So we go across, the whole spectrum of our identity. And it's such a honor and privilege to meet every individual where they're at and allow them the journey of exploring and getting to know their self and their identity self, but also the physical flesh meat suit that they're inhabiting.
That creates a visual we won't be able to let go of. I love it.
Exactly.
Ash, honestly, you can, it's evident. It's evident from these conversations and from when we met, just how passionate you are. And just a quick question: where are you based, and do you work with people online or only in person?
Yeah, so I'm actually based in Melbourne, Australia. At the moment, we have a little bit of a move on the cards for next year, but the good thing is that I work globally. So everything that we do is fully online. All of our programs, we have programs that are even self-paced. So some of the biggest challenges being in Melbourne, the most locked down city in the world during COVID, the biggest challenges were 12-month wait lists to see a psychologist, astronomical prices that when people were out of work, they just didn't have the financial means to be able to afford help. And the programs that we created solve those problems. They're available immediately. They're available at a very, very, very low cost. And then we have obviously deeper work that we can do online. We run group programs and various things. So yeah, anywhere where someone is, we can support them. The only thing is they have to be able to speak English. But if they've listened to 2 episodes of me talk, I think we're okay there.
That sounds perfectly reasonable, Ash. Thank you. Look, and thank you again. Thank you for your time. Thank you for sharing your heart and your passion and your expertise with us. And for you, the listener, please share these episodes with someone that you know will benefit from learning more about the wonderful work of Dr. Ashleigh Moreland and getting a deeper understanding of just what's possible when anxiety is something that's making life small. Thank you again for your company. Thanks again, Ash. Bye.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you for sharing this time with me on Well, Hello Anxiety. Remember, understanding anxiety is the first step to managing it. Until next time, be gentle with yourself. Take things one moment at a time. Focus on what you can control and know that you are not alone on this journey. If you found value in today's episode, please share it with someone who might need to hear it too. I'm Dr. Jodi Richardson, and I'll meet you right back here next week.